What's happening, everybody? Happy Tuesday evening. It's 8 o'clock on the East Coast. It's 7 o'clock here in Minnesota. We just had tornadoes come through here, man. I got like sirens, and we did our little family trip to the basement for about 45 minutes. I'm making light of it, but we are good. I saw Des Moines got spanked with tornadoes. I hope you guys are well anywhere along that I-35 corridor. I hope everybody's all right and your animals all right. It's been a rough May. We need to get out of May. This was the first brush that I had with them since I've moved here to Minnesota, but all is well. And it's beyond us now. So carry on, I suppose. Warm welcome to everybody from the Spider Shoppe's channel, Tyler Kirk's channel. I don't know. I had to check. I think we're simulcasting on Facebook right now too. I see the little F logo next to Tyler's. So welcome all you spider folks, all you usual ball python reptile people, welcome as well. If you've not seen the show before, my name's Adam. I'm the breeder behind Proper Royals, and I do this Tuesday night. I guess it's a podcast, but I call it a live show. I do this Tuesday night show every week, and we talk about the business of reptiles, exotic pets, specifically ball pythons usually, but we get into some fun business stuff. And the guest tonight is Tyler Kirk from the Spider Shoppe, who I have to learn about this industry. I don't know much about it other than what I've learned about Tyler and from Tyler. I'll tell that story here in just a little bit. A mutual friend, I'll tell the whole story. Actually, it's kind of funny. I'll tell the whole story here in a minute. So I got a couple announcements, and then we'll get Tyler right on the show, and we'll get down to business. Literally, we'll talk some business tonight. So yeah, I hope that we get a variety of audience. I love these crossover shows because I can meet new people, and maybe new people can meet me. And likewise with our guests. So cool night, a little change up from what I usually do. And every now and again, just a little spice of life, little change up is good for the excitement and energy on the show. So I'm feeling good tonight. I'm glad to have you all here. A couple quick announcements. I can't get specific because I don't know, they're kind of personal things, but I got to give a massive thanks to Herpin Harbins. They're down in Tennessee. Ball python and hognose breeders, as well as that's Alicia and Josh. Alicia is a vet, and they've just helped me out lately on a couple things. And I just got to give a personal thanks. And the least I could do is ask people to check them out. So if you're in their area, or if you're interested in ball pythons or hognoses, go check them out. Herpin Harbins, just excellent people that, like I say, have been very, very helpful to me lately. I've been working with Husbandry Pro. Robert, the founder of Husbandry Pro, as well as his team of developers, we've been working on a properroyals.com e-commerce site. Now, before you go check out properroyals.com, there's nothing there right now. It's still going to show that it's under construction. However, if you want a sneak peek, check out YouTube directly. I'm going to make the video is uploaded. It's ready to go. It's just set to private right now. I'll make it public immediately at the end of this show. It's episode 2 in this sort of business beta testing that we are doing. And you can I don't want to tell the whole story or turn this video or turn this episode into retelling what I tell in the video, but the video today is episode 2. It covers the design, feedback, iterations, and then a sneak peek at the actual website. And it's pretty close to done. So I'm pretty proud of it. And you'll get to see the whole thing soon. But that episode will be live immediately after the show tonight. So all I have to do is click live. It's not like I have to upload it or anything. So you go right over afterwards. By Friday, I got another clutch of eggs that'll be ready to cut and to have open. And we'll see for the second year in a row if I have I have an opportunity, hopefully not for the second year in a row. Hopefully this year I hit the super blackhead genetic stripe is what I'm after. So we will see. I don't know that we've ever seen one of those. I don't really get too caught up in the world's first stuff, but it's kind of neat. I haven't seen one before, so I'm excited to see what it looks like either way. I could do a whole show on this topic tonight. I'm not going to. I might talk about it on Thursday on the Proper Cup of Joe show that morning. I got a show scheduled and booked in Wisconsin this weekend, which was Memorial Day weekend, which I didn't really quite realize, but I booked it anyway. I didn't realize it, so I booked it, and then afterwards I realized, so I'll go vend it anyway. We got a notice yesterday from the Wisconsin Department of Agriculture, and when I say we, I mean the show promoter. All out-of-state vendors are going to have an import license and a certificate of veterinary inspection. And the show is Sunday, and they've made it clear they're going to be enforcing this weekend. It's getting really, really hard to do business there in Wisconsin, man. I'll let that be. I've kind of gotten over that today. So I don't know if I'll be able to be there or not. If anybody knows, the problem is it's not like a Tinley model where they have the vet on site. You can go and then get inspected when you get there. This you have to have inspected ahead of time. And to get into an exotic vet here in the Twin Cities metro area on short notice is nearly impossible. And when you can, I do have experience with this. When I had to pay an $80 an hour premium just to get in on the short notice, on the emergency notice. So I don't know if I'll be in Wisconsin or not this weekend. I hope I am. I'd like to go to the Wisconsin scaled up expos, Rothschild show. I don't know if I'll be there or not. So a little bit frustrating, and it probably means I'm going to have to revamp my business model, because I have to look. I probably do 8 or 10 shows a year in Wisconsin. So if anybody has any ideas or is going through the same thing and has found a solution that isn't cost prohibitive, I mean, I'll pay. Don't get me wrong, I'll pay. But at some point, it's not like Rothschild's a banging show. Like, I do pretty well. It's nothing to do with the promoters. The promoters do a great job on it. But I'm just saying, it's not the best show on the circuit. There's some winners or some that aren't as good. I don't know. And it's 3 hours each way. So that's a long, long day. I got to vend and do a 6-hour turnaround, load in, load out. I don't know if I'll go or not. So if anybody has any ideas or solutions, or you've, you thought of something I haven't, let me know. I would like to vend. I've been looking forward to the show, and frankly, I really don't have an excuse not to be vending. So anyway, stay tuned on that. We'll see what's up there. Last but not least, on the announcements, if you haven't checked it out, check out the Proper Royals Patreon. Tiers start as little as $7 a month. Any tiers above the $7 turn into store credit 100%. I eat the fees on that. Every Thursday, I put out new Patreon only content. There's a group chat and a group community that is great. We do business with each other. We kind of crowdsource ideas and solutions. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. So go check out the offerings there, patreon.com, the Proper Royals. All that information is down in the description. So the Spider Shoppe is the brainchild, and maybe is fully, I have to learn and understand what's going on here, of Tyler Kirk. Tyler and we were introduced by Robin at Redline Shipping. Robin had hinted at me trying to get Tyler on the show for a few times now. And I was kind of like, I don't know, Spider guy. I'm not sure. And I didn't think too much of it. And then this latest trip, when I went out to Denver and was representing Redline, Robin called me or sent an awkward text or something. I forget what it was, but he basically said, look, man, I invited too many people, and I don't have a place at the house for you, but is it okay if I get a hotel room for you? I said, yeah, that's fine. No problem. And he says, yeah, only one catch. You're going to have a roommate, but we'll make sure there's 2 beds. I said, look, I trust your judgment on people. That's fine. I'll roll with it. And Tyler was the roommate, and I'm sure he felt a similar way, where he was like, well, what am I going to do? I guess I'll give it a shot. And we did fine. It was good. We were both very busy that show, and we really wasn't. There wasn't really anything to go wrong. But Tyler's a very good guy, and I asked Robin if I could say this, and he said I could say it. So, put the cat out of the bag. but by volume, Tyler is the largest shipper using REDLINE. Think about that. The most packages from REDLINE are a Spider and an Invert. That tells you how much that industry is booming and how much of a player Tyler is in it. When I heard all of that, and then I got to meet all right, I think my internet cut out, but it's back. I saw some flickering too. I don't know if this is lingering storms. We're just going to roll with it here. All right. But anyway, so I wanted to bring, for like I say, it was great to hang out with Tyler in person. We had that personal connection. And then I wanted to learn about the business, and he's a great guy and a great representative of the exotic pet industry. So please welcome for the very first time to the Proper Royals stage, Tyler Kirk from Spider Shoppe.
Hey, Adam. Excuse me. Hey, Adam.
How you doing, man?
Good. Glad to be here with you.
Yeah, my pleasure, man. I know it's always weird. It's got to be weird for people to listen to themselves in the third person while they're sitting right there, like while I'm talking about them.
Yeah. It's still a trip to like hear you narrate, talking about Spider Shoppe and me and kind of how far we've come. It's still surreal to comprehend, I guess, or it's still surreal.
To kind of like jump right to it. How long have you been at this? I mean, I'll let you tell that answer, but I got some thoughts. How long have you been at this as far as Spider Shoppe goes?
Yeah, Spider Shoppe now I think has been since April of 21, I think.
Wow.
Yeah, I started off in my house, in my garage, shipping out of my garage. I was previously working as a substance abuse counselor doing 410s. And so I had a couple days during the week that I could ship.
Yep.
And 3 months after.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, not sure what to share, but 3 months after setting up that website, we had enough sales to where I quit my job. 3 months later, I was earning more than I was at work. And
that's amazing. What was so like when I ask this of ball python people, like invariably the answer is usually like, well, I went to a show and I saw a banana ball python and I was hooked. What was the spider moment? What's the equivalent spider moment? What got you? What made you go like, this is it. This is what I'm going to do.
Yeah. I had a tank first and was at a local, big box pet store, and they had a pink toe tarantula there. And I had no inspiration before that, no exposure to them, didn't know anything about them. Was pretty much an impulse buy, right? Even the tank that I had, the setup was not appropriate, was not
I think
sufficient.
Sorry, Tyler. I think I lost you there for a minute. I think you were at a pet store, and I think you said a pink-toed tarantula.
That's right. Yeah. So that's a tree spider out of South America. There's a lot of different variations.
Tarantula. You fell in love with the tarantula?
Sorry, there's a little bit of a lag there.
Yeah. Hang on a second. You know what? I'm going to switch networks. If you'll keep that going, just keep the show going for a minute. You can continue telling the story for just a second. I'm going to switch networks. I'll be right back. Okay. We get this worked out, guys. I promise you. This happens. There's tornadoes. I'm blaming it on the tornadoes. The Aurora Borealis, the sunstorms. That's what's going on here. Just 1 second. I'll be right back. Keep up with the pet store real fast.
Was this Adam's plan all along? Set me up and leave me hanging. Our connection isn't always the best either, so but that's usually when I'm like streaming other things. But yeah, so the pet store, ill prepared for tarantula, but I bought one anyways. And after bringing one home, I found a local tarantula Facebook group and found a guy local on Craigslist that was selling some. and my like fascination and obsession really took off like after I brought home the first spider. Yeah, I remember it, you know, friends or family would come over. I want to show them the spider, and just the reaction that they would have, like just this fascination or fear, you know,
Right.
just the shock value was great.
I do a Thursday morning show that the whole premise of it is a reptile guy and a guy without a reptile that has no idea. It's like every episode is like your family comes over and what you're talking about. Like, why would you do this? What is that? Why? Okay. And then they start to get, some will get intrigued. Some will engage and be like, well, how'd you get that pattern? Or is that, I saw like you have like blue tarantula. Is that a blue tarantula? You know, I'm sure those things happen.
So you're the guy without the spider today.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's me. Yeah, I have lots of questions, man. I assure you.
Yeah,
there's
a lot to.
Yeah, how? I'm sure it's impossible to pinpoint a number on it, but like, how many are there spider breeders? Is it a spider? Is it a distribution game? Is it like there's something like? Is there something like Morph Market for spiders? Like, is there a way to quantify how many people are selling spiders as like a business or a semi-business?
That's an interesting question. There's definitely a lot of like invert sellers. If you look at, you know, the different shows that goes on, there's a lot of people that'll sell at shows. So there's a lot of, you know, websites that people are selling tarantulas. I'm not sure how to quantify it. And it seems like the breeder kind of population or network has definitely evolved over the years. When I first started breeding, you know, there was a bunch of local breeders that we would, you know, exchange mature males, and there was this Facebook group called Spinder, right? Tinder for spiders, right? Spinder.
Oh man, I wish I'd thought of that myself. That's brilliant. Okay.
So people would go on there and post, you know, like, oh, I have a mature male. And because with tarantulas, the timing is pretty important on like when you breed a female to a male.
Okay.
The female needs to be pretty fresh within a few months of her recent shed or molt.
Yeah.
And the male should also be within a few months of having matured. So it's pretty vital to get the male ASAP. And that was a forum that seemed to be pretty busy back then. I remember, you know, feeling like I was smart for doing this. I don't know. I'm sure a lot of other people did too, but I would go onto the Facebook page and do Control F and search through all the posts and find something, you know, maybe a couple of weeks ago, and be able to find whatever it is I needed. But yeah, it seems like there definitely are some breeders in the United States. There's definitely more people breeding overseas. I don't know really why that is. Breeding tarantulas, I saw the monetary or the financial value to it like pretty early on. One of the first, you know, I bred what's called a salmon pink bird eater, and they have, you know, 1,500 babies or 1,000 babies, and the payout's not that great. It's like $1.50 a piece, right? But for that one clutch, you know, I think I made like $2 or $3 grand. So like right away.
That's way better than 6. That's what I get in those tubs back there. Average of 6 per clutch. Wow.
Yeah, and those are probably, you know, $1,000 a piece though, right? So
or more. Different. Yeah. You're convincing me as we speak. I'm saying probably a bigger square footage footprint than you needed for the 1,000 babies, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and you know, back then there was a wholesaler local that, you know, pretty much bought everything that I produced. So I had somebody to take, and it didn't really matter what quantities, he would buy them from me. And so early on, I had a relationship with the wholesaler importer. But yeah, I would turn, you know, and then the spider. For a difference between the snakes and the spiders, that mature female might cost you $200 and the mature male maybe 75 or 100. So you're in $300 to this project.
Sure.
Whereas I know some of those snakes, you know, you probably a couple $1,000 a piece for the snakes, right?
Oh yeah, people laugh if you say you're selling $300 snakes, you're like, they don't take you seriously. I'm not one of those people because I'm one of the people selling the $300 snakes. But yeah, there are people that don't take me seriously. I mean, I do have much nicer stuff than that. But the bread and butter pet market, volume market, yeah, if I can move $300-$400 snakes all day, I'm doing pretty well, So,
that's something. Sorry, Adam. That's something interesting to me right now because we dabble with some reptiles too.
I was going to ask that. I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, we've had a couple high dollar snakes, like a leucistic boa female. We had, $2,000 or so would be the list price, and also a Crebo, dry Marchand unicolor and black color, and those sat for 6 months, and I ended up trading them for a group of cheaper snakes, and the cheaper snakes sell so much better for us than I don't have the reputation to sell a $2,000 snake. I mean, that's not my thing, I guess.
You almost have to build it like in my intro, I mentioned, not by coincidence or accident. Yes, I'm excited, but I'm already starting sort of the sales build. If I hit a super blackhead genetic stripe, I want people knocking on the door. I don't want it floating out there, sitting out there. You know what I mean? Like that's it. It does take part of the whole reason I started this platform is a marketing play. I mean, I have to admit, it's at the end of the day, it's how do you get your brand out there, which is actually something I want to ask you about as well. But this is my angle on it. Some people, advertise. Some people do what Robin does and dabbles in a little bit of everything. But this was my way to get the brand out there, and then people, great people. Phil is. Which actually, Phil, I got to get in touch with you. Phil mentions he's going to have lace special clowns tonight. Those are pretty specialized animals. And if that's the right genetics for somebody that needs it, being able to put it out there right now is a great opportunity to get some eyes on it and get conversations started. But you're right. It could have just been that people didn't know to look there for those snakes either. I mean, it'd be like me posting tarantulas. I wouldn't know. You already know more about snakes than I know about tarantulas, but I just wouldn't be the guy for it, I guess.
Yeah.
But
there's definitely something to that.
You have some pretty high-end geckos on your site though, too. Are those just sort of speculation investments, or you have a gecko person in-house?
The Leachianus has definitely been something that I've been personally interested in, and we have now 4 breeding pairs of Leachianus.
Oh yeah.
One that has been consistently producing, but a lot of those are coming from another breeder on the East Coast that we're kind of just doing a wholesale. Yeah.
How much? Oh, sorry. This is what I was thinking of earlier. How much of the spider? I'll say the industry. I don't know if you want to talk specifically about your own model or not. I realize some of this could be proprietary. How much of the spider industry is breeder and how much of it is wholesale distribution and redistribution?
As in, like, what percentage of our total inventory comes from a breeder versus a wholesaler, or
how much are you breeding in, or how much does the industry breed in house, or is it a series of middlemen redistributing?
Interesting. Yeah. So breeding was definitely the focus, and I think really got us started.
Mm-hmm.
I was able to snowball effect, right? Sell off the breeding and buy more, sell off the breeding and buy more. And that's definitely not our focus anymore. It's definitely still profitable, and I see the value in it. However, I just don't have the space for we have 200 different species of tarantula on the store right now. We don't
200 different species. Yeah. I'm just knocking on the door of 200 snakes. 200 species. Okay.
Yeah, we got probably the highest all time that we've ever had right now.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I don't have room for 4 or 5 females of all of those species. Like, we have very limited now on what we're keeping and raising and breeding. And it's more like the high dollar stuff that hasn't been bred in the United States before. Yeah, there's a lot of breeders across the United States that will offer us their produce And a lot of times either I'll buy it outright or I'm happy to work trades. And that seems to work pretty well for us and the breeders, I think.
Yeah. I have vended a couple shows since we were hanging out in Denver. And I'm not going to, and actually I wouldn't know their names if you said, I've forgotten what their brands are, but I could say where they were from, but I won't. At both shows, I've met people that source their goods from you. And I only knew the conversation started because one of them was wearing a Spider Shoppe hoodie. I was like, well, damn, I'm going to ask him about this. The reason I dance around this question a little bit is because in ball pythons, like one of the worst things you could be labeled is a flipper. Like, God forbid you buy something wholesale, make sure it's healthy, and then resell it. But the ironic part that I find is every person wants to know a wholesale buyer. Like, they'll sell wholesale, but then they'll curse you if you buy something wholesale and resell it. So I've always so I don't want to paint anything in a poor light, but everybody I've talked to seems to be pretty upfront with, yeah, well, we source from, trusted breeders, and we feel like we can bring a good product to this market because of a partnership with that trusted breeder. So it's pretty common on the wholesale distribution model then.
Yeah, that's interesting, the contrast there between the reptile and the tarantulas. I wasn't really as familiar with that about reptiles, like the flippers. I can definitely see, being kind of, just what do they call it in art? Like the provenance.
Yeah.
Of the reptile.
Oh, yeah. Or the horse or the dog or whatever. Yeah. The provenance. Yeah.
Yeah, that's like in geckos, everybody wants to see a picture of the mom and the dad, right? It's like, oh, right. And who was the grandfather and all this, and that's not really been a thing in tarantulas. If you have,
this is granddaddy long legs, this is daddy long legs, and this is baby long legs. That worked well. I got it. I got one in, man. That's going to be the real tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, for example, somebody just called the other day. They're like, "Hey, can I see a picture of your Goliath bird eater spiderlings? I want to pick one out." And I mean, just the truth, right? I could pick one of those out and not know which one it was.
Yeah, well, you got 900 of them. Of course, you're not going to know which one it is, right?
Even if it was a group of like 4 or 5, like they're so similar. Like each individual is really not differentiated between another individual. But as you speak of like trustworthy breeders, I mean, crossbreeding, hybridize is a huge no-no in tarantulas.
Gotcha.
Right. Okay. So you kind of do want to trust the source. You don't want anybody hybridizing or selling crossbred spiders, or, might also be hesitant to buy from certain people that never shipped before. Shipping tarantulas seems to be this thing where everyone wants to try to get away with using insulation the first time they ship, and it never works out. I mean, I'm guilty of it too. I shipped some spiders for the first time with no insulation, and they perished. And so, you don't want to be sending money to people, especially with all these scams going on. You don't want to be sending money to people if you're not going to get what you paid for, right?
Yeah, but I think that's any industry. I think that in our world, I think that's any pet. It takes a little time to build your own brand recognition. Sometimes you gotta. I know in my own experience when I started out, I had to. Sometimes I would lower prices below what something was worth just to get the opportunity to get in the game, to build reviews and the reputation and all of that. And that was another reason I started this show. I was like, I need to get people to trust me, and because I can't just give stuff away to buy trust, But I do get what you're saying about that. On the hybridization topic, is that purely from again, we'll go back to the provenance standpoint, or is it truly among different species? Are there laws that outlaw certain species and the hybridization causes blurred lines on those, or what's the controversy over that?
Well,
maybe not even controversy. What's the concern, I should say?
I think the concern is that people want to have purity. They want to have, my grandma's here.
Okay, I started to see a trend in the names here. I said, wait a minute, there's a Kirk, and then there's another one with 2 different names, but not Kirk. All right, I like that. Here we go. Welcome, Miss Ludwig.
Yeah, love you, Grandma. Yeah, so I mean, there are instances of some hybridization. For instance, like T. albo is a curly hair tarantula. They come from Honduras and Nicaragua, but in the hobby, sometimes they're just unlabeled, or you can call them the hobby form. And they're like the same species, just different locales that you're not sure
Gotcha.
if they've been. Yeah, and so if, you should keep Honduran with Honduran, Nicaraguan with Nicaraguan.
Yeah.
I imagine it might be the same with like boas, right? You got a Colombian boa and
very big deal with boas, with carpet pythons, corn snakes too. Even just counties in Florida, they name them by different counties or areas that they were collected. True locality, almost Mother Nature's way of line breeding. They didn't travel 100 miles, so they never encountered a different gene pool. So same species, nothing biologically wrong with breeding them together, but that the locality representation, that sounds like the same on. Is that the same on? Am I describing what it would be with tarantulas too?
Yeah, I think it's for preservation of the unique species.
Yeah.
Because then you have 100 offspring, and then they're going to end up in people's collections, and then are they going to dilute the species even more?
Right.
It's always been something that's been really really important to the community, and so it's definitely something that you want to steer away from.
Is there is there an apparent way to identify a hybridization, or you just have to trust the people to say that it's hybridized or not?
Yeah, there are some and some spiders won't even produce anything if they're hybridized, but there are some examples where there's been offspring of hybrid, and there's pictures of it. They definitely don't look like the normal species, right? Thankfully it doesn't really happen all that often. It definitely happens more in the reptile world than.
Yeah, well, I was going to say on ball pythons, you would never hear of the Westgonen such and such. It's not one bit. But we're absolute nutcases about genetic, dominant and recessive genetic traits. I mean, to the point I have a shed testing company that'll, genetic testing company as a sponsor, who are great, by the way. I'm thankful for them, but that's so different because you wouldn't worry about that with localities, because they would test the same genetically, but that the locality traits are different. We never hear that in ball python. So that was a little bit foreign to me. I remember speaking of sponsors, Chris at B and S Reptilia, he's got a ton of boas, and he was like, no, they're locality boas, Adam. I'm like, well, all right, I'm learning I'm like learning his spiel for his commercial to do the promo. And I'm like, I don't know what that means, man. And so we had a similar conversation on what we're having right now, earlier on, but nice. So how much, again, feel free to be vague or as specific as you want. How much what's the perception of wild caught spiders versus captive bred, and what's the mix in the industry on that? What's that like?
Yeah, captive bred is definitely preferred.
Okay.
That's promoted, and so the threat with a wild caught specimen is that it could be parasitized. It could.
Correct.
I've seen some a tarantula one time, the abdomen just burst open and like this larvae came out because tarantula hawk or whatever had like injected its egg, or
that's like a terror movie. That's like Aliens, or that's like you just wrote the new Aliens right there, man.
Yeah, and then mites is a concern, and just overall general health. I don't think they're transported and kept in the best care during transport from wherever to wherever, right? So that's definitely something, that's important that we label things accurately when we're selling them. Wild caught specimens should be identified as wild caught.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the things that we sell are captive bred. However, there are some things that aren't accessible otherwise. And so we do sell some wild caught too. I'd say, probably at least on our availability, less than 5% is wild caught. Like species wise, right? 200 species, we definitely have less than 10 are wild caught.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And
And
is there any like protocol when those come in? You talked about worrying about parasites or mites, so they get do they get dunked in, ivermectin or whatever? Or I'm making up stuff right now, but is there any protocol on that or quarantine or anything?
Yeah. Well, mites are arachnids too, right? So some of the
yeah, I didn't think about that. Yeah,
some of the stuff to treat mites on snakes will kill a spider too.
Sure.
Their well, I want to say skin, it's not skin, but their shell or whatever, is hydrophobic naturally, so it'll repel water. But some of that stuff that's used to kill mites soaks in and kills the mites, and it would kill a spider too. So
Right.
pretty much just want to be like visually inspecting anything wild caught. You'll see like white specks. I've seen white speck mites like around eyes, or sometimes they'll be in like the joints on the arms, around the carapace, the body, where the legs will meet. And definitely want to keep those away from other animals. And there's not really anything you could do. I've seen somebody anesthetize a tarantula and pick them off with like tweezers.
Yeah.
You can anesthetize invertebrates with carbon dioxide. So you can put them to sleep and pick them off.
How long does that get you? Like you shoot them with a little blast a keyboard cleaner or whatever, or the air thing? What do you do there?
I saw a video of it. I was not never that I've actually done.
Okay. All right.
But you want to keep them away from your other animals. And then when they molt, is when they'd shed their skin, of course, right? And that's when would be a great time to take them away from the molt and the mites. And typically that's, definitely this is not something that we really worry about a lot. We don't do so much wild caught, but it's definitely out there. A lot of the bigger things that you see at expos, a lot of them are wild caught. There's some big sellers, that sell a little bit of everything, and they got the big spiders on their tables. A lot of times those are wild caught.
Gotcha.
They're cheap, big spiders for cheap, wild caught.
Yeah.
Most of the spider sellers, they're like boutique, most of us are selling captive bred now.
Yeah.
And some people even market 100% captive bred, which is great.
So you mentioned it at the top of the show. You mentioned that breeding in America was less prevalent as far as spiders goes than other places in the world. If you want to talk about it, I realize some of this might be proprietary. Where are the breeding hotspots then? Where does again, if you want, I don't think you could just, fly to Greece or wherever you're going to tell me is hot and there's just going to be spiders everywhere. So I know it takes more than just knowing the geography, but where are the spider breeders coming out of?
Yeah, I know a lot of our stuff comes from Poland, Germany. There's breeders all over Europe. And I'm not really sure why. It's kind of the same question, like why is their market kind of ahead of ours? Their stuff is cheaper. There's more breeders. Like, why is that? I don't really want to.
Let me ask a really, really ignorant question. There's no tarantulas cruising around the wild in Germany and Poland, are there?
No, I think the northernmost is in Israel. I think Israel is like the northernmost.
Okay, so still on a different continent. That's still south of the Mediterranean there.
Yeah. So there's no naturally occurring tarantulas in Europe. No.
Okay. All right. Just I was pretty sure, but then I was like, maybe I don't know. Maybe, who knows?
Yeah.
But then, so it begs, I mean, to my point though, then it begs the question of just what you were saying. Why in the world is that the hot spot? Any history there that you know of, or it's just been common for longer?
Yeah, I don't want to speak, I don't know, like just in my perception, right? I don't know exactly or why, but when I went to Germany, I got off the plane and went right through with no custom check, no nothing, So I think and what I previously understood is that there's just a lot more liberal about, like, you're not getting your bags checked when you come through the airport. So
Oh,
people are
wow.
bringing
So it's worth the risk.
Well, I don't know if it's like, somebody just told me that it is in Poland. You can't just bring stuff, but I guess they're not checking or something, So like if you were to bring animals into the United States just in your bag, you're gonna get in trouble.
Heck yeah, you are. Yeah.
But over there, I think that it's a lot more relaxed, that people
Yeah.
can bring, they can go travel to South America. They can bring a bag back of spiders to Europe, and that everything, like, they get it first usually in Europe, from all over the world. People are going, spending weeks. And I think the culture in Europe too, there's just more people that travel and, take holiday, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not a vacation, it's a holiday. They spend time all over the world, and
yeah, you just take August off. Yeah, you just don't do anything in August. You just go.
Yeah. So I don't know, a mixture of the traveling, the freedom to bring back stuff without any trouble, I think is what, but I went out, I met some people, some breeders when I went to a show there, and they were telling me, like they had one species and they'd tell me like, oh, we have 40 females, and they have like a room full of, like, that's their specialty. That's what they focus on. They want to only breed that tarantula, and they're going to figure out the, temperature and timing and all that stuff to produce, right? They're not all that easy. Some of it's timing and temperature and humidity and all that stuff. And so they'll focus on like a couple different species, and that'll be their thing. And so that was the one instance. I don't know if that's, there's another one like that too that I was exposed to, but 100 Goody sapphire females on a wall. But yes, I don't know if those are just.
How does what's the spider facility look like? I don't have a good feel. And there's a garage door behind you there. I think it's whatever the roll up door it looks like. But what space needs do you have per female?
Depends on the species, but for like the biggest spider, a 12 by 12 by 18 for an arboreal spider is plenty big enough.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. So you could, I mean, it takes space, but you could, I mean, in a similar amount of space I have these here, you definitely could have a massively significant amount of the terrariums there, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then what about temperature and humidity and all of that? Do you have to heat your rooms, or what do you do for that?
Most tarantulas are just fine at room temperature. If you're trying to breed them, people will try to, mess with like seasonal cues and lowering the temperature, raising them, they'll breed the spider, then put it in the dark closet in the cold for a few months, and then bring it back to 80 degrees, then flood the tank like it's, rainy season.
And then you got to send it on holiday during August, and then it comes up. It's a lot of work. Okay. All right. That's a lot. Do you, like, is that normal, or is that like somebody's like specialized thing that they do?
I think there's a lot of experimentation in the hobby with that, and some will have success, and that's really just trying to mimic naturally in the winter it gets colder in certain areas, right? So
yeah,
just like there's a brumation period for some reptiles.
I was gonna say I shouldn't have laughed too hard. I mean, yeah, you want to do that with corn snakes, you gotta brumate them, and yeah, I guess I just have it really easy on ball pythons. Some people change, they have a night temperature and a day temp. I have my lights on timers, and that's it, man. Other than that, it is 24/7, 365. It is sunny here in the basement, man.
Yeah, close to the equator is pretty consistent all year round, right?
Yeah.
So, and most of the species are, relatively close to the equator, I think.
Right.
As far north as like Utah for tarantulas, and Israel.
Oh, really? Okay.
And as far south as yeah, I mean, far south in Chile, South Africa, Australia has tarantulas. So I guess they're spread out. But yeah, I didn't do that too much other than maybe, leave the room at 78 all year. And some of the stuff that I had luck with, there's some stuff I didn't even try breeding. And there's a lot of stuff I failed with a lot. But the stuff that I did have seemed to do well with just being constantly warm and maybe drying stuff out and, the wet season kind of. But that's all species specific. There's a lot of variation and different trial and error stuff going on with different species.
Do you find, well, I don't know if it matters if they're captive bred. Do you find any seasonal conflict with spiders that come from the southern hemisphere? Say you get one from Australia, do you need to try and sync it with the seasons it's used to, or now that we're in the you're in the northern hemisphere now, does it care? Like, does it know? It doesn't know.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things like that too that we can never really answer. I don't think you can only speculate. For instance, there's a friend that recently asked about like, hey, my spider laid an egg sac and I'm going to go on vacation. And typically you pull the egg sac from the female, about 25 days, 30 days, depending on terrestrial, arboreal, etc. Should I take it or should I leave it with her? And so there's always this question about like, should I interfere or should I just leave it be?
Right.
And it's like, you don't want to regret having interfered, but you also don't want to regret not interfering.
Yeah. Yeah, we've kind of got the routine down with ball. I mean, by and large, everybody takes the eggs immediately from the mother. There wouldn't be at 3 weeks in, I guess I decided to take it. You take them immediately or rarely, I think, certainly professionally, rarely. No, almost nobody leaves them with the mom. But so if you take the egg sac at the prescribed date, 25, 30 days, whatever it might be, when do you expect the what do you call them, hatchlings, the spiderlings?
Yeah, there's a few stages of development in the tarantulas. When the female lays the sac, that's when the eggs are inseminated. She actually carries the sperm around until she lays the sac, and then she's draining the fluid. So she lays the sac with eggs, and there's fluid inside, and they've got to roll that around. One, so the eggs don't get stuck together, and then also two, to get so they all absorb so they're all fertilized.
Yeah, they'll get fertilized. Yeah.
Yeah, and so from that point to about 30 days is when they'll start to pop. They call it eggs with legs, which is the second stage, right? Eggs, and then eggs with legs. They actually shed the skin, or they molt. Just a round shell comes off, and then they have eggs with legs. And that usually happens, after like 30, maybe 40 days. And then another 4 weeks, 6 weeks to first instar, or they call it larval stage 1, L1. And then again, another 4 weeks to larval stage 2, or N1, nymph 1. Yeah, eggs with legs, first instar, second instar. And second instar is typically when we separate them and can feed them and can, sell them or.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's that timing from, you see the mom lay the egg sac to, did you say second nymph?
Yeah, second instar. Yeah, that's usually 2 months or more.
2 months. Okay.
Sometimes 4 months. I have these big terrestrial species take like 4 months to get, from egg sac to spiderlings.
Wow, okay. All right.
Yeah.
So that length of time is, because I'll get excited. I'll see a female ovulate, and I'm like, oh, I still got 4 months before I see a snake, and then it's going to take another 6 weeks not at best, but 6 weeks or longer before I can have it ready to sell. So it's a long process. What's that?
What is? I don't understand. Ovulate. What is that?
Ovulate is actually much like what you were just describing of the spider laying her egg, except it's internal. So we call it a follicle before it's ovulated. When she ovulates, the female ball python also stores the sperm, and she has like a little, I call it a sperm farm, but she's not making the sperm. Clearly, she's keeping it alive. So a little reservoir, and she releases the sperm at the same time as the follicles, and then again, as you described, it gets fertilized, then we call it an egg at that point. And I'm sure somebody can clarify a little more technically what I'm saying, but basically that's what goes on. So you see ovulation, then in a perfect world, it's 47 days from ovulation, but it's never exactly 47. I don't even know why we put such a crazy number on it, but we do. That she'll lay, and then from laying, it's 55 days. So, you're 47, you're 92 days from ovulation to when you're going to see a hatchling, and things can stretch well beyond that too. I've seen females go, I don't know, for 60 days or so from ovulation to laying, when you expect it to be 47. So we do one step I'm missing in there while I was hesitating. There's a pre-lay shed. They ovulate, and then they shed, and then they lay. From that shed to lay, we count 30 days is when we're like, where's it at? It should be this day kind of thing. So like, there's a girl that I have in there by count and by her own behavior. She should lay eggs. I should have eggs tonight. And like, I'll check. Like second we get off air, I'm like, eggs in there? No, not yet. But she's on her way. They kind of do this like pretzel move where they push all their egg. They start pushing their eggs down their body, and you can actually see like a skinny part and a fat part, and they're just coiled up tight from their head down until where the eggs are. And when that starts to happen, it's imminent at that point.
The way you described ovulation seemed like all internal. How do you like see that? How do you
well, sometimes you don't, but you can, there's anywhere from 1 to maybe 3 days. It'll look like they've actually, their body will straighten out, and it'll look like they actually they ate a water bottle or so. It'll look like they had the biggest meal they've ever had, but generally they go off food for 3-4 weeks before they ovulate. So they haven't eaten in a couple weeks generally. And then you see this massive bulge, and they sort of straighten out, which is rare. Generally they're coiled up and or wrapped around their water dish to stay cool when they're building that way. They'll go not quite straight up, but they'll go in a little arc, but that arc in their body will just be, like I say, it'll look like they ate a massive meal, and you're like, I didn't feed that. Oh, that's ovulation.
So we actually have 2 blue-eyed leucistic female ball pythons that have been with a male, and one looks like she has eggs, but we keep checking. We're waiting. It's kind of been a team effort at the shop.
Sorry, it would have been. I'll send you some. I'll follow up more like structure. I'll give you a better timeline than just the conversational stuff. But also there's behavior you can look for. Are they still eating? Are both the females still eating?
I'd have to ask my guy.
If they go up, they'll go off food. We call it bowl wrapping. They'll wrap around their water bowl, which tends to keep them a little bit cooler.
I saw that a couple days ago.
Okay, there you go. So generally, right before they ovulate, they will have stopped eating, and they will have stopped bowl wrapping, but not all the time. And then you'll see this, like I say, they'll almost stretch out, but it's like a soft arc, and then it's just fat, but it's only there for 2-3 days, and so you could easily miss an ovulation.
Yeah.
So
I think she's got eggs. Just wondering when she's going to drop them.
That's what I tell people. Like, there's nothing. You're not going to change. The knowledge isn't going to change anything. Either they're there or they're not. So like, I do tell people, like, you could pair once a month until something happens. If you don't have an ultrasound and you don't have like this year when she lays, you'll know what her timing is. And generally they're within a year later. So in 6 months, start pairing her again until something happens, kind of deal. And you'll start to see, and I'm sure there's things like it with spiders, but you get enough repetition and you breed enough and you do it enough years, you're like, okay, I know when this girl's going to go. I know what she looks like. You'll even know, you'll be able to start seeing, somewhat accurate guesses of how many eggs, or if you have an ultrasound, then it's, there's the egg, boom, we're good, kind of deal.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. One of my guys. What's that?
You don't have the ultrasound equivalent for spiders, do you?
Kind of. Yeah. It's called candling.
Really?
Yeah. So, yeah. When the gravid female is up against the glass for arboreal, you can take a flashlight and shine it right on her abdomen, and it'll glow inside yellow, and that'll show that she's got eggs.
Wow. Okay. So like going back to the reptile guy and non-reptile, people come over and they're like, so this is a really serious operation. And they're like, how do you know when to breed? I'm like, well, I break out the ultrasound, and they think I'm joking. They think that's like a weird, like mom joke. I'm like, no. I have there's an ultrasound. Like we can look inside with the eggs, so anyhow, I've come to realize that any question I could ask, they're truly, it could happen. So they got their big bulbous abdomen there. You stick a candle there and you can see eggs, or it glows a certain color if there is eggs. What is this now?
Yeah, flashlight. Yeah, a little pen light. Yeah, you can see the skin. I can't want to say skin is like stretched out, and the bottom of it glows yellow. That's pretty much when they're carrying eggs or gravid. You can tell.
If they weren't gravid, what color would it glow? It would just be brown. It would just be light on their bum there.
Yep, doesn't glow. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So we have an expression in ball pythons that they glow before they go. I don't know why, but their scales or their skin kind of stretches under the scales. So there's this white outline around every scale that gives it this glowing appearance. And when we say like if you see the female glowing, you're like, all right, she's on her way. She's about to go, man. So that's a whole new twist on glow before they go.
Yeah.
And by go, I mean they get pregnant, not poo. They don't glow before they poo. They glow before because they'll build eggs, but they'll reabsorb them. So they won't always. That's why we say, are they going to go or they're not? A lot of times they'll be building these follicles, and for whatever reason, biologically, they'll decide that they're not going to produce eggs, and they'll reabsorb those eggs.
Yeah, tarantulas, I think, can do the same. They'll lay a sac. It's called a phantom sac, so infertile, and they'll do that without having ever been bred or mated.
Yeah,
and sometimes they'll eat it.
Okay.
And actually, you can breed a tarantula that's glowing like that, and it still be good. Like it's not too late, because it doesn't get fertilized until afterwards, right?
Oh, cool, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So I've bred a tarantula.
That's a good timing thing, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, I've done that before and got an egg sac like it was under a week after I paired her. Like
wow, nice.
6 days, something was like the fastest it's ever turned around. And I've heard of faster, but yeah. So sometimes people will get the glowing and be like, "Oh, I need a male. Before.
Well, I mean, you can almost make the argument that's the smart thing to do. You don't have the overhead or anything. Just dial, call up the Spider Shop and get you a male. Yeah. How long is how long in between, what do you call them, clutches or between eggs? Is it a yearly thing?
Definitely. Well, some species can double clutch, so they can lay a sac, they can lay another sac without being bred again. A couple months later, a month later.
Gotcha.
I've even heard of triple clutch before. That's really uncommon, but typically, they'll molt, about once a year. Yeah, and they can have an egg sac every time they molt.
I see.
Okay.
I didn't know that was tied together. Interesting. All right.
If they are bred and then they molt, they have to be bred again. Most species, they'll lose the sperm if they molt after they've been bred. Yeah. There's a couple exceptions which are interesting, but most tarantulas, they'll lose the sperm if they shed.
Huh. And how old do they have to? Can they do this in the first year? Like they're, or how long does that take?
No, most tarantulas aren't mature until 2 years, 3 years, sometimes 4 or 5 years, probably. They say like 3/4 of the max size, but different. They have different growth rates and maturity rates.
So I want to switch gears in just a second. I want to ask about your shop, about the business aspects of the shop, rather than talking about the spiders, talk about the business. But it's the top of the hour. I usually pay some bills and talk about some sponsors. So you mind taking just a moment break with me here, and we'll get through those, huh? Yeah, there we go. There's the first sponsor, Redline Shipping, guys. Whether you're invertebrate crew, reptiles, any of it. Matter of fact, you can ship anything you want with, I guess not anything, but you could just a guitar. I could ship a guitar with Redline as well. But anyway, check out Redline. Look, there's a reason that they're so popular in the industry, and it's not just branding. At the end of the day, they back it up with amazing customer service, amazing care, amazing resources for business people like myself and Tyler. And they've been great to us. And so, I mean, for all those reasons, you should check them out. But also use the promo code PROPER5. You get $5 off your next shipping label if you haven't used it yet. There's a whole untapped market. I could get a little pep up from Robin about some redemptions. I need all the invert people. Break out Proper5 for me when you ship your spiders. All right, you're gonna get $5 extra off of your next shipping. I like this, off your next shipping label. So also shedtesting.com. That is Charlie at Gray Rider Reptiles. Charlie and the folks from Rare Genetics are going to be on the show next week together. The two icons of genetic testing going to be on the same show, same time. We'll talk about the industry. We'll talk about the future of genetic testing and a little bit of differentiation between the brands. I'm blown away. They both will come do this. How cool is that of those guys? So I'm really humbled, really appreciative. They'll be here next week. Anyhow, I do recommend Charlie at shedtesting.com. Very quick turnaround. I got some shed tests today. And my date on my spreadsheet of when I sent them was May 13th. Today's the 21st. And that's when I sent them. That's post office included. 8 days, I got results back. Don't have to pay extra. Don't have to run any specials for that. That's just what it was. So Proper 15 will get you 15% off of your next 2 orders. I don't know any limitations on the number of tests per order. So let it rip. Send them a bundle. You get 15% off. RGen Reptiles, that is Robbie down in Greer, South Carolina. He is a ball python breeder. He is specializing in desert ghost, pied, and clown recessives, and then the dark gene codoms to go with it. So if you're into doubles, triples, hets, and visuals, blackhead and stranger, in with DG, pied, and clown, give Robbie at RGen give him a call. Check him out. All of these people are down below in the description. Robbie definitely has a Morph Market store, as do all of these sponsors. So check them out. Next is Danny and Renee Rocha out at Portuguese Pythons. They're in Chino, California, the Inland Empire, just east of LA there. And they are dealing in really, really nice high-end double recessive projects as well. I have a 1.3 Ultramel Pied project from them. That is part of how I was introduced to them. Beautiful animals. I can't wait to breed them this coming fall. I know that they just had a clutch of super blackhead Ultramels. I don't know if there's any available left, but go check out either their Instagram or Morph Market for that. Ball Labs, that's Trevor in Aurora, Colorado. Just the big neon snake mad scientist. He was on the show last week. If you didn't get a chance to check it out, check him out. Really nice guy. I'm really glad I got to meet him, and I am proud to be advertising for him. Trevor is working with Puzzle, Ultramel, Clown, VPI, Xanthic, and Tri-Stripe. He's also got some Monsoon, Zebra, and Sunset stuff cooking. And I do know very specifically right here, right now, he's working to move some Hurricane Pieds, possible OD, and they're about 400 grams. They're also 50% MJ Axanthic. I know that's a ton of words. Let me say that one more time. Hurricane Pieds, 400 grams, possible OD, 50% het MJ. He's got a 2.1 of those. That'd be a cool project. You could even, not that, maybe you might not advertise it, but you could buy the whole thing and move one of them, kind of thing, if you didn't need 2 males. So that's Trevor at Ball Labs in Aurora, Colorado. Check him out. Last but not least is Chris at B and S Reptilia, my partner in crime when it comes to vending at Tinley, among other things. I talked to Chris yesterday. He and I will be vending Tinley together. And I get to go see Chris July 5th, I fly out. July 6th, I'll be at Jeremy Warfel's Cookout. And I will be playing music and hanging out doing Snake Show stuff. So there'll be some entertainment, and I'll be hanging out with everybody as well. My tax guy loves that trip. I get all kind. I got the music business and the snake business with it. It's great. Chris will be there, but in the meantime, check out Chris. He does have those locality boas we were talking about, ball pythons. He has colubrids. He has pituophis, if that means anything to you. Bull snakes, pine snakes. And those generally are not allowed at Tinley without a special permit. I know Chris is working on that. We are aiming to have bull snakes and pine snakes at the table this year legally. We've never had them before. We would only do it legally, but we'll have them legally at the table this year. So check out Chris at B and S Reptilia. He's also the regional Pennsylvania distributor of the Chipper Cocoa. Thanks, everybody, for sticking through the promos. Those are the folks that keep the lights on and allow me to do this week in and week out. Coming up on 3 years every Tuesday night. For 3 years now, I've been doing this show. So thanks for all the support. Audience, you're a big part of that as well. And any new audience members from the Spider folks, there's got to be like a better word, the Spider folks. It's weird. You guys are probably like, yeah, the snake folks. So happy to have you. And Tyler, thanks for broadcasting this. We are simulcast, man. We're on your channel and we're on Proper Royals on YouTube. So this is pretty cool. I think your mic is still on mute there. There it is. Unmute. Those of y'all just joining, this is Tyler Kirk from the Spider Shop. And I didn't say it earlier. Lakewood, Washington. I looked it up right on the highway in between Olympia and Tacoma, south end of the Puget Sound. Looks beautiful, man.
It is, yeah. I love living here. This reminds me, you mentioned the Inland Empire with Portuguese pythons. I'm actually, raised there.
I saw that you were there right after Denver, yeah?
Yes. Yeah, my grandma celebrated her 90th birthday, so family and I were there for that.
The one in the audience?
Yes.
Happy birthday. Fantastic. 90 years, man. All right. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Come from some good stock then.
We go a couple times, and I'll be back there for the Super Show in July in Anaheim. Yeah.
Okay. I believe Danny and Renee vend that. Yeah, you gotta meet them. They're fantastic people, and they work a lot with Robin at Redline as well.
I know I've seen the logo and their banner at the shows. I know I've seen them a few times.
Yeah, really just special people. I can't wait. I need to find an excuse. I got plenty of excuses. I need to just get on a plane and go to that Anaheim show and hang out. I've never been, but I need to go and meet some of those folks. So, Tyler, tell me about your shop. And really what I'm curious of is, in this day and age, in this industry, and spiders specifically, but even ball pythons, is a brick and mortar shop necessary? What are the benefits of it? Do you do enough local business? I mean, why a brick and mortar storefront? Public, I assume it's public facing. Customers can come and go, regular shop hours, all that.
Yeah, well, we definitely needed a place to work, right? I had my garage at first, which so that alone was some value. We have the partition, and we have a workspace in the back and the store in the front.
Gotcha. Okay.
I remember somebody saying, "Oh, the crickets pay the rent," and that's not the case for us. We probably lose money on crickets, actually. But
is that what your tarantulas eat?
Yeah, mostly crickets, roaches.
Okay. So the whole bird eating thing, you're not, there's no chicks. No. Okay.
Yeah, I've done a mouse before. It's really messy. And they'll fight the spider. And
I was gonna say, yeah. I wouldn't say my rodents pay my bills, but they don't hurt. It's a nice piece of the business. Maybe the crickets aren't, but the rodents for reptiles are. I'll say that.
Yeah. It's a portion of our online sales. Maybe a quarter of our sales are in person. Maybe 20, maybe 30%. So it fluctuates.
That's pretty solid though for like a ball python person. It wouldn't be crazy for them to have even just the average starting, enthusiast could have 20 or 30, and that's not that crazy. What's it like for spiders? Do you see that with tarantulas too, or is it you get one and you're kind of done, or how's that work?
Some people are like that. I think the majority, though, have a collection. They're so easy to take care of, and they take up such little space, that people end up having like a tarantula room in their house or a tarantula bookshelf,
Right.
or some kind of like collection of them. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I remember losing count after 100.
Right. Yeah.
And yeah, so it's either a couple and they're good, or 10. Most people have a few. Yeah.
Well,
Some of our customers.
I was looking at your website. I mean, there's literally a wide variety of colors. I'm assuming when you were talking about I think you said the pink toad one, but I mean, I've seen blue ones. I think maybe even some green ones kind of deal. There's some pretty cool color changes in there too.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of variety. It's cool.
Do you see a day where people would breed for color, pattern, and contrast, or is it so frowned upon that it's got to be the pure locality of it?
Yeah, I don't see that really being the thing. Again, all the individuals. Hey, Rob, I see the comments now, Adam.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think that's ever really a thing for tarantulas. They're all indistinguishable, one from the other. And so, no, I don't think that's would ever be a thing.
Yeah, so people wouldn't experiment with, I don't know, if there's a blue and a green one from different places and they say, hey, maybe we could make a teal looking one or splotches of blue and green. They wouldn't experiment that way or come up with a, if it popped out a plain looking one, you assume that it's heterozygous for both of those parental genes.
Yeah, I don't think it works the same way with there's what do you call it? Mutations are really unusual. I've actually produced a spider with 2 abdomens. So that's a really rare mutation.
There you go.
Really, really neat. It's survived a few molts.
So both parents were het for double.
Maybe. I think it's just mutation.
Right. Yeah. No. Yeah. Exactly.
There's another thing called gyandromorphism, where it's like half male, half female. And male and female tarantulas are sexually dimorphic sometimes. So you'll have half of it one color, half another, but that's just a mutation, really rare occurrence. But other than, there's not really, there's color form. Actually, there is an example, Neoholotel inci, the Trinidad olive. They have 2 color forms. They're gold and olive. And so they are, gold and gold. Gold's a recessive. So you can do gold and gold and get golds, or you can mix them and get mostly olive, right. Or 2 olives is all olive. And that's the only, and then there's like OBTs, like different locales of orange baboon tarantula, because that species ranges like a huge distance in Africa, and there's different locales with like they're the same species, but they consider them like locales and different color forms. And so, those should be kept pure, bred like with like. Otherwise, it's just like a hobby form, diluted spider. So I think the emphasis more is on like keeping the purity rather than experimenting with mixing things.
Yeah. I'm starting to notice that ball pythons are the outlier in that, like, AKC with dogs. You're not going to go, oh, great, you got a German Shepherd and you got a little, retriever. This is a nice blend you got here. Nobody's like, but ball pythons, that's exactly what you would do. You would go, well, I can mess with the color palette over here with some of these genes, and then increase the contrast with a hypo or a DG kind of thing. And then, the pattern we can mess around with Enchi or zebra or something. So, I think ball pythons are the outliers on that. The more I think about it.
Yeah. There's not really any genetic mutations in tarantulas. There are no, gene expressions, like visually at least, about like, this can have a different pattern or different color. They're same species is indistinguishable.
But didn't you say that there are like there's some that are distinguishable with the gold and the olive, or like, but are those totally different species, or they're different localities?
They are the same species, and that's a good question on locality. I'm not sure about that. I think they're naturally, I would guess the same locale. I don't know on that actually. That's interesting.
And I realize I'm trying to put a, what do you call it, a square peg in a round hole. Like if there's not a demand for it, what's the point of going for it other than just pure curiosity? But that would get expensive and time consuming, and those are, decades long things to sort out. But just looking at it through the lens of a ball python breeder, that's what came to mind anyway.
Yeah, I think you'd be taking, like, for instance, right, the color red and blue, that like beautiful colors, right? Mix them together and you get brown or something. It's just, for example, like they're better left their own than being mixed. I think the mixing would, I don't even know what's possible. I mean, I think it'd be diluted. It'd be something less desirable to mix.
Yeah, I got you.
I'm curious though, like naturally ball pythons, like there's not any variance in locale on ball python.
No, I think that that's a deep well there to pick apart. I do think that their locality, just for what we were saying earlier, they're not going to travel hundreds of miles and mix with another mutation. So the things that we create in our ball python labs back here, they would never. I mean, the odds they're beyond astronomical. Whatever beyond, I don't even know what the analogy would be. It literally would be impossible to create some of the things that we're creating without strategically putting them together. I realize I'm not donating the egg or the sperm. They're doing the work, but the strategic pairing of them would almost never happen. So what we do find, I believe, and I believe I've heard examples of this and evidence of this, is something like piebald, which is a very common, big white splotches on the snake. Those evolved sort of into a locality because if you have the original mutation and it's a recessive trait, the mom has the babies stay near. They're not, like I say, they're not traveling. They're just eating and living. Eventually one of those breeds back to the mom, and now you have a het to a het. So 25% of the babies become piebald. Of those that survive, which is less likely because they're not camouflaged and predators can see them and that kind of thing, eventually those either breed siblings, it becomes a locality. I don't know how much time that takes and eons that it has to go through. So I think that there's concentrations of genetics in ball pythons, but some of them are just straight up mutations that might have happened even in captivity or that are happening in captivity. I don't know. And in my opinion, there's a whole lot of speculation. I hear people talking all the time. They're like, it's not even that fair to me because it's a little bit snide, but I hear people say like, oh, there's something going on here. I think I got a new one. And it's like, man, it's going to be 7 years of you figuring out if you got a new one. And it's just another normal or another example of what you know what I mean? Like you go, but there's the one in, I don't know, however many thousands, like I guarantee you every ball python person in the audience knows who discovered or isolated the orange dream gene. That's Ozzy. He did it. He became extremely wealthy because he spotted that gene and he isolated it and then propagated it. And it's an amazing gene. So a lot of people chase that. I like to know what I'm working with. I like to have a target that I'm going for with known quantities versus discovering unknown quantities. I have a very low tolerance of risk, and my gambling days are way behind me, man. I want to know. I don't have enough time on this planet to go putting 10 years into something and it being nothing. That's just not for me anymore.
Interesting. Your strategy on that.
I want to create things that are unique and that maybe didn't exist before, but I want to do that with known sort of flavors, if you would, or the known palette that we can work off of. So that's just me on that. How long, to get back to the business a little bit, how long had you been selling spiders or have any sort of business interest until you got your shop? How long did that take? Because that's a massive inflection point of when an entrepreneur takes on a physical building.
Excuse me. Got to think back. I started in July, and then April, and then in July I quit my job, and then I think that it wasn't that October that I got into a space. It had to have been over a year. So a year went by, and then the next October. So a year, from April, first starting a website, July, quitting my job, and then next year, July, and then in October that year, getting the keys to the space.
Yeah. Did you rent? Did you buy the place? I've just recently learned of such things as warehouse condos. Is it one of those? How's the space work for you?
It's, I guess, like a strip mall. We got Subway next door and a salon next the other side.
That's so great. You're that guy in the strip mall, huh?
Yeah. It seems, I think some of our neighbors have been suspicious or concerned. There's a restaurant too, and we had a pest control come in and see what kind of roaches we have, because I guess they found roaches somewhere else.
Oh, you're selling dubia or whatever?
Yeah, dubia and red runners. Yeah. But then luckily it wasn't the same roach. But so there's it's in a strip mall. It's 1,200 square foot. We got the front end's probably 800 square foot, and the back workspace is maybe 400, something like that.
Yep.
And it was a lease. It was a year lease. We renewed. Actually, I just signed a new lease for a space that's twice the size, and our lease being over in October now, we'll be moving here soon.
Congratulations, man.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a few $100 more for twice the space, so it's I couldn't really argue against that.
Yeah. How far is it? You got to communicate to your customers of the new new location and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we're gonna put some flyers. I think the new location is on a busier street, so we'll get some new attention, I think.
Okay, cool.
And then the existing customers, we'll put up some flyers, and we'll have plenty of time to share. It's only 5-minute drive away.
I got you. So it's still in town and in the community and that kind of thing.
Yeah. I think a lot of people that show up to our store drive quite a ways anyways. So I don't think that the move is going to be a big deal. And any other pets, there's a pet store in Olympia, there's a pet store in Everett, there's Renton, these are 40-minute drive either way.
Yeah.
So
I was going to say, I can't imagine there's much spider specific competition around you're probably the guy if people want it in person, right?
Yeah, there's some other businesses that work with spiders locally. They show up at the shows and they, offer home pickup, or they'll meet people.
Sure.
Yeah. But yeah, we're open 7 days a week. Anytime you want to show up, they're able to.
Yeah.
So
how big of a, obviously, well, maybe not, I don't know. Well, I have to say, obviously you're not there open and closed 7 days a week. So how big is your team? What's your staff like that you have there? Who's your, what do you have going on that way business wise?
Yeah. We've got 4 full-time, 2 of them that are packing and caring for spiders. And then we have 2 full-time that are store attendant reptile care. And then I have 1 that helps do our online orders, that kind of schedules all of our orders. That's my partner, actually, my wife. And then her friend, will print off all our packing slips and make shipping labels, and all of our, spiders ship with the label sticker on them. So she makes all those, and she does our dry goods now too. So yeah, 4 or 5 full-time. Well, actually, we just brought in another guy part-time, help with shipping. We're just getting to the point, where we can't ship tomorrow because we have too many spiders to ship, so sorry. we can do Tuesday or Wednesday. But so now we have a new guy, and we're going to hopefully increase that capacity, that daily capacity.
So
yeah,
outside of yourself and your wife, are there any other owners? Is it you two are the ones?
Yeah, sole owners. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
5 employee. I mean, just rough back of the napkin math. You're well into 6 figures you're paying just in labor. That's a lot of spiders, man.
I just did payroll for this pay period. It was like $7,500.
Yeah, that's a lot of spiders. That's a lot of spiders before you get to keep a penny, and then you got a 2,400 square foot building coming up too, man. Good for you.
Thank you. Yeah,
that is cool, man. We got to do this again because I feel like I'm just scratching the surface, but I got to get my son to bed, and I got to spend a little time with my wife, and I could bore you with end of the school year blues when nobody cares about anything except the teachers that are not going to take a soft spot on the grades. So we got a little homework time tonight too. This is cool, man. I'm so intrigued just from a business standpoint, from a you call them animals? What do you call them? They're not insects. You call them animals?
Yeah, animals, spiders. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm intrigued at that standpoint. And we filmed that session together in Denver at the Denver show. So that'll be out on YouTube sometime. I filmed like 9 sessions there, man. I got so much content, but I'll let you know when it comes out though. But guys, I have to wrap up, but I want to do this again. And with Tyler, where can people find you? I know that you were in Denver. You talked about going to Pomona. What's the next shows you're going to go to? Where can people see you in person?
I'll be in Pittsburgh this weekend for the Mega Reptile Expo in Monroeville, which is outside of Pittsburgh. I'll be at the Anaheim Super Show in July. I'll be at the Puyallup Pacific Northwest Reptile and Exotic Show in Puyallup, Washington in July. And that's all I have on the calendar right now.
Gotcha.
We're on for, what's the one? NARBC, not Tinley, but the other one in Chicago.
Schaumburg?
Schaumburg, yes. We're on the schedule on the calendar for Schaumburg in July also.
Are you doing Tinley in October?
I think so. Yeah,
okay.
I haven't paid yet, but yeah, I think I'd like to do that.
I mean, it's less than your payroll for last pay period was. So yeah, you're probably all right. You should get in on that. Well, cool. I'll see you at Tinley. Are you going to do Denver again in September?
Not September, but maybe again in the future.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. So I'll see you for sure at Tinley, and who knows, maybe we'll cross paths before then, but, man, you got to come back. Like I say, maybe this fall, or maybe at Tinley, we'll do a little spot together. I have to learn more. And there's a whole lot we didn't even cover about you, man. It's a great story. Everybody go check out, it's spidershoppe.com. Just spidershoppe.com is where it's at. Hey, $2. Look at this. $2 gets the cheap advertiser for Keith. Keith's my buddy. This is great. Keith, thank you very much, man. Ivy says Tyler and his team is amazing. If Tyler is the lead or the person that helped assemble any of it, I could believe that. Tyler's been great to work with and great to get to know. Yeah, so spidershoppe.com, and then you're on Instagram. And are you on YouTube or not?
No, YouTube, not yet.
But Facebook, that's where we're broadcasting tonight.
Facebook, yeah.
Yeah.
Facebook, Instagram. Yeah, Spider Shoppe. Yeah, Adam, really honored to be here with you. I really appreciate the opportunity, and appreciate you, man. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure, man. It's been great to get to know you in person, and then more tonight, and to dig in. I appreciate you letting me pry with all my endless questions, but I really enjoy it. It's what makes the show fun. And I love the entrepreneurial stories like that. And like I say, we didn't even get into your story, or I didn't even ask what your day job was that you quit. And by the way, kudos on your website. I think it sounded like you were the one that created it, but whoever created it, that's a great looking website, man. I really enjoyed cruising around there, and it does a lot of nice things. I really like it. So check out the website, guys, spidershoppe.com. Tyler, thank you so much. I will see you soon. Audience, next week we got shedtesting.com. That's Charlie from Gray Rider, and RGI, Rare Genetics Incorporated, will be on the show. I'll try and wear my journalist hat in the middle there. And Thursday morning, I'll see you on Proper Cup of Joe. Tyler, thanks. Spidershoppe.com, everybody. See ya.